I will make comments, obviously not criticisms, but I'll just be making observations. So when Vince comes onto all fours, and you just find your support through your shoulders, and we could say that, we can see that Vince tends to slightly over-support himself through the shoulders. So I could ask Vince to push a bit more, to confirm what he's doing, and then to sink a bit more, to give him a different kind of map of his shoulders, and do it a few more times. And when you sink as far as you can between your shoulders. So we're trying to find out what maps of support Vince has got. And then settle into something that feels useful for you, Vince. And then take your weight back over your heels. Lean into your hands, find good handprints. Relax your neck. And then when you're ready, lift your knees without pushing, that's lovely. And then straighten your legs when you feel ready. Excellent. Now you can see Vince has got slightly tight hamstrings. That's going to push him a little bit over his hands. So he could bend his knees a little bit more, take the weight back more. We're trying to find as much support through the bones as he can. That's lovely. And then come down, Vince. Great. Okay, so Vince is sitting on his heels. One thing we notice is that there's some shortness on the underside of his ankle. The tibial muscles are slightly tighter. If that was causing him trouble, if he was in pain, I'd put a roll under there. But you're not in pain, or are you? No.
It's all right for a short period.
It's all right for short periods, that's fine. Then come onto all fours. And we're using blocks here because Vince's hamstrings are a little tight. And again, we're finding support through the shoulders. So we're asking, how are we supporting ourselves? And Vince's tendency is to over-support a little, which is just his map, that's fine. So you can do it a little bit more, a little bit less, a little bit more, a little bit less. And get some idea of the choices that are available to him, and then ask him to select what feels okay. And it's important that we're not trying to create a right shape. It comes out of the experience of him playing around with the ideas and in the end deciding what feels right for him. And then turn your toes under, Vince, and send the weight back over your heels. And then when you're ready, lift your knees and then straighten your legs. And the support comes from the arms. We're looking for the support, not pushing but leaning into the hands. The work is done in the legs to lift the pelvis. And then lower yourself back onto your haunches and then go up again one more time. So what we see there is that the legs do the lifting and the lowering, and the arms really do the supporting. Thanks very much, Vince. You can come down. You can see Francesca is more neutrally supported through the shoulders. A very tiny bit, you might say, she's over-supporting. But again, we could just ask her to explore a little bit. Sinking, under-supporting, pushing, over-supporting. These are just the maps of support that we bring with us. And they're not right, they're not wrong, they're just part of our story. But we don't know how to change unless we give ourselves choices. So that's all we're doing here. And then she's settled on something that she feels is okay. Now she's got her toes turned under, so ask her to take her weight back over her heels. At this point, we can rest. We can do our best to really find our rest through our bones of our arms, through our hips, through our heels, till you've turned the volume down as much as you can. Then the effortful part of dog is when the knees come off the floor. So you're trying to discriminate how much effort to use. Thank you. And then next time you do it, once you've lifted your knees with the least amount of effort, you follow that by straightening the legs. Lovely, thank you. Now, Francesca's got a little bit more length in the hamstrings than Vince, opens a little bit more easily in the shoulders. So support comes more easily through this straight line here. And because she's got longer hamstrings, she's not having to be pushed over her hands so much. So it does feel a bit easier. She doesn't need to bend her knees so much. And then thanks very much, and then come down. So that looked very, very nice, Francesca. And it's interesting to know she had a hip replacement 10 or 11 months ago, and she's moving very easily. I think that's a positive thing to hear. Thank you very much. And find good handprints. And we look again for how he's supporting himself. We notice a slight tendency for over-support. This is often true of strong men. It's often the way they work. So we could ask him to push a little bit more, to overdo it, and then try and sink a little bit, Andy. Yep, that's probably less familiar to you. And you go through it a couple more times, pushing and sinking. And yeah, I think for you it's good to explore sinking. What's it like to let go a little bit more there? Yeah, good. Okay. And then turn your toes under. Take your weight back over your heels and then rest for a moment. When you've gone back, lean into your hands. Relax your pelvis as much as you can. And then lift your knees and try not to push. That's it, good. Now from there you can straighten your legs without pushing through your arms. Good, lovely. And because there's a slight tightness in the hamstrings, again it tends to push him a little bit more into his arms. You could think about bending your knees more, taking your weight back so this angle straightens out a little bit. That allows bony support more easily. And then come down, Andy, that's great. Lovely, thank you very much.